My name is Javon Myers, and today we will be discussing Case 4 analysis regarding Southwest Airlines. Key facts, summaries of the case. Starting in 1971, Southwest Airlines began as a commercial airline. I think at the time it was only Southwest and I think United Airlines, which was the two that launched first. But Southwest was the main one. And within the first 45 years of the company being ran, they were ranked one of the top 10 companies, and it was the crown jewel of the air. Like most airlines during the 9/11 occurrence, this airline took a big hit and flights being purchased. The spike went really down, and it was a part of the Great Recession that was a part of from the years of 2008 and 2009. With a lot of questions and concerns, Southwest would eventually face problems with long haul flights, which would basically be like flights overseas, um, flights going to across the country. Because when Southwest first began, they were only flying planes within the state that they were in the state of Texas. And after they expanded outwards, they weren't really it wasn't really long haul flights. The flights were really, let's say the flights would be to like New York, Florida, Louisiana, really just closer states. And so what made Southwest successful was that Southwest was able to not sell drinks and food, which would in turn help with cleanup times. So that way when the plane docks, they don't have to clean up or do anything. They may have to pick up a few things that someone dropped, but overall, they would really have to just dock the plane, fill it up, clean off the windows and stuff like that, and then get people on board. Compared to United Airlines that was selling food, United Airlines would be a lot slower when it comes to whether it was a layover or something like that. Problem one, key problems, starting with problem one, expanding into long haul and international flights, which would they would run into a limitation of planes problem. So for years since the start of the company, Southwest's main goal was to have quick and easy flights for their passengers. At the beginning, Southwest perfected the flights that were no longer than 2 hours with great turnaround times. Flying to limited places meant that Southwest would be able to get passengers on and off planes a lot quicker. And like I stated, they weren't selling anything on the plane, food or beverage wise, so it was a lot easier, like I said, to get passengers in and off the plane. The only problem that they were running into would be not being able to use Boeing 737s for long haul flights. If you know anything about purchasing planes, certain planes have a distance limit, and the Boeing 737 could only go. They could do a little bit over a short flight, but the Boeing 737 was not meant to do long haul flights. So that's when their competitor United Airlines ended up purchasing the Airbus plane. And if you ever seen an Airbus plane, it's a very large two-story plane. And these planes are meant to travel thousands and thousands of miles compared to a Boeing 737. I think the highest, I think a Boeing 737 can't even get up to 1,000 without having to stop to fuel up. So this caused tension due to United being the first airline being able to buy a large fleet of planes, allowing them to expand their flight options to various parts of the world compared to Southwest. Problem two, expanding into long haul international flights. This kind of ties into problem one, but this is regarding to the logistics to make long routes happen. Now, if you know, with planes, they have routes they have to take, obviously. Now, when you're buying and you're purchasing a newer plane and you're doing new routes, you also have to take into account to how many passengers, how many seats are going to be on the plane, if you want to include food and beverage options, and also if you're going to have to be able to buy enough planes along with having the parts to fix the planes. Because remember, Southwest only has Boeing 737s. They only have the mechanics and parts to fix a Boeing 737. They do not have any parts or anything that is equipped to fix an Airbus, which is also a limited plane at the time. Now, when Southwest claimed to buy a large fleet of Boeing 737s, even though they had multiple chances to expand their fleet, They never needed to because customers never really asked them to. And this was a good point that they brought up. Southwest, I forgot his name, but there was somebody in Southwest that was questioned during the article, and he was basically stating that Southwest had numerous chances to expand, but they were making so much money over time with their short haul flights in America that they didn't really need to expand. Even when United Airlines expanded into buying Airbus and doing long haul flights, Southwest is still passing them by miles, and so they really did look into doing long-term flights. And typically, if you fly with Southwest, you were only going somewhere that wasn't that far. Now, with them trying to expand their fleet, they would need to calculate how many planes they would need, along with the route that the planes would fly, and if these routes would be able to be reasonable with the kind of plane that would be purchased. The text said that even though United Airlines bought the Airbus first, this plane was an extremely limited plane, and at the time was also the only plane that was able to go on long distance routes. In the Southwest arsenal of supplies, they only had the tools to be able to handle the Boeing 737, as stated before. So when United Airlines bought this Airbus plane, it kind of made Southwest think, because if they were to purchase this plane, and because at the time I think it was only Southwest and United, so if they were to purchase this plane, they take a big risk at trying to do something that the company's not accustomed to, compared to United Airlines, who's already done this. They've already practiced it, and Southwest is already behind. So they would take a big leap on a risk by trying to, basically, if you're purchasing these planes, which isn't really cheap, you risk the fact that you may lose a lot of money in the process of this if this does not work. Solution to problem one. They would need to get different planes in addition to keeping the 737s, as stated before. Get a fleet of international and long-haul equipped planes. Now, the text wasn't really specific, but it only stated that the Airbus plane was the only plane at the time that could go through long-haul flights. Now, today's age, they have plenty of other planes that are equipped to go long-haul, but at the time, it was only a Boeing 737 and a Airbus plane. As touched on in the problems above, Southwest's whole fleet of planes, along with mechanics, were all equipped to fly and fix Boeing 737s. With them trying to expand, their main issue was to try to find a plane that was able to fly long-haul flights. With the long-haul fleet of planes, their market was extremely limited. As said before, Southwest had multiple chances for expansion outside of the normal flights. The company never wanted to risk the chance of taking a risk and losing money because of exploring something that was never part of their norm. With United Airlines being the competitor here, I would suggest equipping a few Airbus planes to see how the trips would work. Basically doing test runs to see, if we have a certain amount of passengers on this plane, if we are going to have food and beverages on the plane, how long would it take for us to clean up and get passengers on the plane, considering that before, when they were using the Boeing 737s, they would never need to clean up on the planes, and they would just be able to get passengers on and off after they fuel up and clean off the plane. Solution to problem two, connect shorter routes with quick turnaround times, or put a few direct long-haul routes in place, which would basically mean they would have to cut off some short-term flights and replace those with long-term flights. With Southwest being the main airline that does shorter routes, along with not offering food on board, this helped a lot with being able to dock the plane and get passengers on quick due to less cleanup time. Now, with the Airbus plane being very limited, Southwest puts themselves at risk for trying to expand towards something that the company isn't accustomed to. With long-haul flights, you will need to include some sort of menu, which is something Southwest did not include in their original short-term flights. Food items being included on the menu would mean longer cleanup times, which was something Southwest tried to avoid in the past. If food is going to be included, the airline should implement a way to not spend too much time with cleanup after long-haul flights. In conclusion, I think that Southwest has been and will always be one of the top, if not the top airline to fly with. I've personally flown with Southwest multiple times with no problem. Very quick and easy flight. When Southwest first began succeeding in their short-term flights, the company did not feel the need to expand to longer flights. Southwest wasn't taking the risk higher the reward angle. They were taking the rather be safe than sorry angle, which is very reasonable because at the time, for 45 years straight, Southwest was dominating any other airline. And so I'm pretty sure they do international flights now. But like I said, I've flown with them, and Very quick and easy flight. Never had any problem getting on and off the plane. And I would honestly rate the airline a 5 star. I've flown with almost everybody: American, United, Delta, Spirit, Allegiant, and I'm not biased, but Southwest is probably the best airline. Considering the company's number would spike with long haul flight earnings, this would be great for expansion into other companies since the expansion Southwest has continued to be one of the top purchased airlines to fly, continuing to give a safe and friendly environment in the sky for passengers. Now, what I mean by the numbers would spike with long haul flights, if you look at the price to go overseas, average ticket price is going to be anywhere from 1,200 to 5,000. 12 to 1,500 would be like, I think I want to say 12 to 1,500 would be what is it? Like economy, so just regular flight, and then first class. I think first class would be about 5,000. So if they were to venture out during this time, they would make a substantial amount of money if this does succeed, because the regular price of a ticket for these short-term flights were a lot lower. And but yeah,